Well, here's a little garden update. Here's what I've been up to the last part of March. This year, I am really focusing on getting all of my harvest and not sharing with critters. Rabbits and squirrels have been the big issues the last few years. So I've been planting mostly greens and herbs, things like kale, mustard greens, arugula, bok choy, sorrel. Some I am direct sowing, and then some I went ahead and had starts. I started indoors, and I won't plant all of these. Some of these are for sharing. So I'm putting hoops over a lot of my greens to cut down on the digging and hopefully keep the bunny from eating them. Those are the mustard greens, and I am inner sowing root vegetables, so I'm putting some radishes and turnips, and I'm probably going to put some carrots under some of these too. Some of these, like the mustard greens and the sorrel, should reseed every year, so hopefully these will be a plant once crop, and once they're established I maybe am not going to have to lock them down as much as these are locked down. I also have some chard. The chard I just sort of made a makeshift cage around, and it has not been extremely successful. Something is still getting in and digging up my plants, and not to eat them, just out of spite. I'm also planting my green stock. I'm doing the north facing side because that will stay out of the direct sun. So I put a lot of herbs in here like parsley and dill and cilantro, and also a lot of leaf lettuces. And I'm putting some kale in there too around the bottom. And we'll just see what does well. As it gets warmer, I will do the front half with the more heat-loving things like mini tomatoes and small peppers and eggplants and things like that. On my porch, I have pots of herbs, and most of those I started from seed. There's a little bit of arugula that's already coming up. And I have this on lockdown too because the squirrels go after that as well. But I like to have the herbs where I can easily access them from the kitchen. Don't mind the mess in the greenhouse. I've got some stuff starting in here. Those are some basils. Here's the poor Swiss chard that keeps getting knocked down by the wind. There's more dill, some chamomile. Those are some pawpaw seeds, some marigolds, just a little bit of this and that. And then I also have planted my peas. I put them in a pot with a tomato cage and some trellis for them to climb up. This worked really well last year, and then as the peas died back, I planted tomatillos in this setup, and that did really good too. These have been harassed a little bit by what I think are birds, but I think it's going to be okay. And I tried putting some radishes and things in these pots that later in the summer will have my cucumbers, but they're being molested already too, so I don't know if I'll get anything from that. That's my garlic patch. Those were planted in the fall, and they're just coming up right on schedule. Some other stuff is coming up in the garden as well, like my garlic chives. Those come back every year. I've got rhubarb. This is year number 2 with the rhubarb. All the mints and catnips and things like that are starting to poke up. That's some valerian there in the herb garden. Gooseberries are looking good. They survived the winter and thrived. That's another mint of some sort. And then my black raspberries, I really thinned those out and made trellises to try to make them more manageable this year so we could actually get back and harvest. That's my cactus. Believe it or not, it bears fruit and is an Ohio native plant. So that's what's going on outside, and then we'll continue and see what's going on inside with the heat-loving plants that it's just too early to come out. Those will be hiding in the basement, and then they'll make their way out to the greenhouse eventually, but we're still having nights in the 20s and 30s, so it's not time yet. And meanwhile, in the grow room in the basement, there is a lot going on. And we'll go through kind of bit by bit what all is happening. So here's a little update of what's going on in the basement. Here are the dwarf and micro dwarf tomatoes. So these ones are not going to get very big. They will, micro dwarfs only need about a gallon size container, and dwarf tomatoes do good in 3 to 5 gallon containers, but you can put them in the ground as well. But some of these make cherry sized tomatoes and some of them make medium size. None of them get like huge. But some of them make some pretty nice tomatoes, Shamrock being one of my favorites. Here's a little baby Shamrock. And here we have the eggplants. Eggplants are one of the first things I start. They're pretty slow growing, slow to germinate. So these guys have been hanging around since probably early February, and that's as big as they've gotten. So there are maybe 6 varieties of eggplants, anything from small container finger-size eggplants up to the big Italian. Also, there's a few Asian varieties that are sort of the long, skinny ones. And there's some basil. I've got, I think, 4 kinds of basil, actually 5. Some of them I didn't get really great germination, so I think most of what's in here is Genovese basil and purple basil. There is sweet basil, hopefully some Thai basil, although it looked iffy, and a basil called Mamalo basil, and I'm not too worried about that because my friend Diane is growing that one for sure. So if I don't have success with the Mamalo basil, I know where I can get it. And peppers are sort of the star of the show right now. There's just so many peppers, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 tables just full of baby pepper plants of all kind, from super hots to snacking peppers, everything in between, the weird, the normal, peppers from all over the world. Let's see what we've got. Like, here's a Pippin's Golden Honey. It's a really nifty color changing sweet pepper. What else do we have? Alma paprika. It's a nice, sometimes those have a little bit of a heat to them, but not much. The Sriracha jalapeno, supposedly the pepper that the famous rooster sauce is made from. So I want to say there's at least 50 varieties of peppers. I didn't really count, but there's a bunch of them. And in here, we have the tomatoes. So I start them in waves. That way they don't all need potted up the same week, because it's actually very time consuming to transfer them to the individual pots. So you can see the ones way down on the end are probably gonna need to get potted soon. And then we have ones that are just sprouting and ones that were just seeded. Tomatoes grow really fast, so you don't want to start the tomatoes too soon because they will quickly outgrow their pots before the weather is right to put them outside. And then you have to repot them, and you have very leggy plants that are difficult to deal with. So as much as I am tempted to plant them way early, I know better. The other things that are not getting planted now because they just grow too fast and become unwielding, anything that's a vine plant, so squash, cucumbers, melons, those will be the last things. And I start those maybe 3 weeks before they're ready to go outside. Also, I think some of those plants do better not being planted right away. I personally don't plant my cucumbers until June. So, I think being in a rush to get those out, all it takes is one cold night for them to become very unhappy. And they just grow so darn fast that there's no reason to be in a rush with those. So those will be a couple weeks. So it's all about the tomatoes right now. The peppers are mostly potted up. There's a few stragglers kind of hanging around that were slow pokes or runts. But for the most part, it is just tray after tray of tomatoes, and that is what is going on in the grow room. So get your cold weather crops in, but be patient with your warm weather crops. It'll be here soon. Hang in there.